You are listening to A Scary State, and this week we're talking about Maine. So, Kenzie.
Yes, Lauren.
Let's get scary. Welcome.
I'm glad that this is our main topic.
I feel like that's going to be our pun for a lot of this episode.
I actually only included that pun once in my story. Thank you very much.
Same.
I tried to make my main puns more so fit with my story than Maine.
Very exciting.
Yeah. I got 12.
So a lot has happened since we recorded last.
Has it?
Well, for me.
Oh.
On last Friday, we went to that Markoff's Haunted Forest.
Oh, that's right. You
It
did spooky things.
It was so fun. So we did the Haunted Forest. It's like 45 minutes of walking through and getting scared. And they had like legit good scares because they don't always get the first person. Sometimes they'll get the second person. And through one of
I
the
probably would scream at both the first person, me, and the last person.
Yeah. It was scary. And they make it so you can't really walk in a line of people like next to each other. You have to walk one at a time.
Absolutely. Fuck not.
And so at one point we're going through one of the houses and Joe's in front because we all switched who had to go first each time. I know. I was very brave. So we're going through and Joe's first. I'm right behind him and Nora's behind me. And we're walking through and some lady like jumps in front of me and goes right behind Joe. And she's holding like a skeleton arm and is like pushing him forward. So Joe thought it was me the whole time. And so we get out of the house and he turns around and freaked out when he realized it was someone else. Me, Nora, and Ian were in hysterics.
I do find it funny when other people get scared.
Yes, it was so fun. So we did that. They had a really, really cool room. It was all lasers.
Oh, cool.
And it looked like you were walking through a marsh. So the lasers like went up to kind of like your like chest level. So you couldn't see below you, which was freaky. Oh yeah, they like grabbed your ankles and stuff.
Oh.
That's the only room they like touched you in. But it was so cool. And then they have like the village. So that's where there's drinks and food and a bonfire and like this thing up high where people would sign up to do it and they would go up and they'd be on a bungee cord type thing. And the goal is to get from one side of the platform to the other. But in the middle is like a spinning log. So they have to try to get across to win money. No one won. And then there was this place called The Town. So you take a hayride to this other location and you go through that as well. It was so fun.
That does sound like a good time.
You would hate it.
Absolutely.
But it was fun.
Yeah, I could see the appeal.
Yes. And then we did our Halloween thing. So Joe and I dressed up as the Statue of Liberty and a
You guys look so cute.
New York tourist. Thank you. So yeah, he has the disposable camera. So I'm excited to get all the pictures developed.
I wore one of the witchy hats that you gave me.
I saw.
'Cause that's about as far as I was going to go.
And then at work, we did Pac-Man. So I was a strawberry.
You look like a great strawberry.
Thank you. We did not win the competition, which was sad. I know. I think something fishy was going on.
Rigged.
And then for Orange Theory, I dressed up as an old lady.
You were really...
I know.
Many costumes.
So I did my hair in curlers. And
I saw that.
I went to class and I did my whole 90-minute Orange Theory class with curlers in my hair.
You know, it's funny because you didn't have to do that when we were in high school.
Didn't have to do what, the curlers?
Mhm.
Oh, I know.
I had to walk around
For drama.
high school
Yeah.
all day,
Mm-hmm.
no makeup on, and fucking curlers in my hair.
I did have to do curlers once when we did the Wizard of Oz and I was a munchkin because she liked how curly, like the little teeny tiny ringlets my hair would do super short when I had the curlers done.
I always thought it was funny for the play that we did that we had to wear curlers for the Awesome 80s prom.
Oh, yeah. Nope. Didn't have to do that.
And everyone's hair was just like, it looked like tangled curls, but
Mine, I literally just had to like put it up in a bun or like a ponytail and that was enough curl for everything.
I kind of would tease out the curls and like pin it off to one side.
It did look
like,
cute.
All of you looked like you went through a wind tunnel. I looked like I walked out of the 80s, which is why I won prom queen. Just play. Close enough.
That caveat in the play.
In the play, but I still won.
So let me tell you about my day.
Oh, God. Okay.
So Mackenzie sends me the meme.
Oh, my God.
that she's going to put today. And that she was going to put for our episode. And she replies and she goes, oh my God, I didn't know you weren't going to work. Like, I thought you wouldn't see that I was late with this. And so I remember looking at it. I was like, oh, that's really good. Oh, ha, that's so funny. And I was like, now why is she posting it before the episode even goes out? And I'm like, our episode doesn't go out for another couple of days. And I'm like, because it's Tuesday. And I'm like, oh, it's Wednesday. And so I like sprinted to my laptop. I was like, fuck. And I got to my laptop and I like uploaded the whole thing. The fun part is yesterday I made a to-do list of all the things I had to do. On my to-do list was upload the episode. Did not upload the episode.
Didn't do that.
So Joe and I went and picked up our rental car because we're going on our trip.
Mm-hmm.
By the time this goes out, we'll be back after driving 18 hours to get to Arkansas for a wedding.
I get to hang out with Roy.
Oh, yeah, Mackenzie's being the best dog aunt ever. And
I'm
watching
so
our dogs.
excited.
But so we go to the rental car place. We pick up our rental car. Everything's great. Joe obviously drove my car back, but he had to go to the dentist. So he drives to the dentist. I come back here. I get up to my door and realize I don't have my keys.
No!
That's when I Snapchatted you and I was like, I'm having a day. So I called Joe. I was like, how far away are you? He's like, about 30 minutes. And he goes, do you not have your key? I said, nope, we didn't think that through.
No.
So we had to drive back, drop off the key, and then drive back an hour to go to Ashburn for the dentist appointment.
Ugh, what a great husband.
I know. And now we have an 18-hour drive together.
Well, he's ready. He drove 2 hours today.
Right. God, I don't know how. I don't know. It's gonna be.
You'll find out.
Yeah, we're gonna find out. It's gonna be quite interesting.
Good luck.
Thank you.
I do not envy you.
I don't either. I don't think we thought of it and we knew that we had to do the 18 hours, but I don't think it ever processed that we were doing the 18 hours. And now here we are. It'll be good. It'll be fine.
Yeah. I'm going to act like your dog is my dog and post him on Instagram all the time.
Oh, that's okay.
So.
Oh, we'll love that.
Me too.
Yeah, he's excited. He loves you.
I love him too.
And yeah, he slept in your bed. After we changed all the sheets, he was like, oh, I think they did this for me. So he's been sleeping in there a little bit.
I'm going to try to, by the end of this weekend, my goal is to get him to snuggle with me once.
In the morning, sometimes. Usually what he likes to do is about an hour before you have to get up, he'll hop up in the bed.
So yeah, Jimmy used to do that too. Like once I was awake and I could get him on the bed, we would snuggle for a little bit.
Yep. That's about what Roy does.
Which works.
Yeah.
I can live with that.
He won't sleep on the bed at night because there's, I guess, a huge difference between like 11 p.m. and 4 a.m. when it's still dark. It's still nighttime, but he likes 4 a.m. more than 11 p.m.
Well, whatever.
You know.
I can share. With a dog. Nobody else. I don't have any updates because I'm not doing anything fun.
That's okay.
So, I did watch Hocus Pocus 2.
Oh, yeah. Okay, how'd you like it?
It was so cute.
I liked it too.
I really liked it.
I don't know what I was expecting from it. It wasn't what I was expecting, but I liked it.
It wasn't what I was expecting either, but I'm glad they did it the way that they did.
Yeah.
You know, I'm glad it was like a separate story, but still kind of this continuation of like, oh, they can come back, you know, whatever. And I like that this other girl got powers. I thought that was freaking baller.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm about to go out and get me some spells and get my witch on.
I'm about it. We'll go to Salem. We'll make it happen. Yes. So I was thinking we should have done this episode in August. Get it?
What?
Oh, that's my pun because the capital is Augusta.
Oh my God. I was like, I don't
That's
understand.
the one where I was like, no one's going to get it.
Georgia. I was like, it's not Georgia.
Fun one.
I have 12. So good.
Yeah, I only have one other, and it's. It's
going to be great. Would you like to hear some facts?
I would love to hear some facts.
That you wrote?
That I wrote.
So, the first Europeans to arrive in Maine were the Vikings from Norway. That's interesting. Why are they not the Vikings for a football team then? They don't have a football team, do they?
Maine?
Yeah.
No. They're just, I think.
New England.
Yeah.
Oh. That seems like a missed opportunity.
It does.
The bold...
Jumping spider.
Okay, that is supposed to be bold?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. The bold jumping spider lives here, and it can jump more than 4 times its own body length. Okay, cross Maine off the list.
Right.
Maine is the closest state to Africa. Interesting.
Isn't that cool?
That is very cool. I guess because kind of...
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And based on like the tilt of the world because the earth is flat. Or not flat. The earth is curved, not flat. Sometimes words just don't come out when you need them to.
Yeah. Or they do when you don't. The coldest day in Maine was in January 2009, where the temperatures reached negative 50 degrees Fahrenheit or negative 45 degrees Celsius.
I don't like that. Mm-mm.
Not including Alaska, Maine has the highest moose population, which is actually the official animal. And did you know that moose are part of the deer species?
Yeah. Did you hear that thing? It was a Jeopardy question, and it was like, name the plural of an animal. I don't know, but some guy, the main guy on Jeopardy, the plural of moose he thought was meese.
Oh, no.
It's so cute.
I still, at this point, I think we all know this information, but every time I see a video or a picture of a moose,
Of how big they are?
it just doesn't compute in my brain.
Right. They're massive.
Like, you just don't ever learn about a moose being the large animal. You learn about elephants and giraffes and all that. Big animals. Moose?
Mm-mm. Like, when you think about them, you think they're like maybe like the size of a horse, maybe a deer or something. Not how big they are. Like, bigger than cars. They're huge.
Crazy. The official state cat is the Maine Coon, which usually weighs about 18 pounds and is this makes it one of the largest cat breeds. How?
A cat that's 18 pounds? Cats
What about a lion?
Like, one of the largest cat breeds. That's like the big animals. Like, if you think about like other cat species, I don't know, the Maine Coon is just a big cat.
Like, domestically?
Probably.
Because there's definitely bigger cats.
Well, obviously. I think
saying.
it does mean domestically.
Maine is the only continental United State that is without a venomous snake. Back on the list. There is a statue of the Sokowegan?
That sounds good.
Thank you. Indian in Maine, and it is the tallest in the world. Like, tallest statue.
Mm-hmm. I knew it.
It was erected in 1969 to honor Maine's 150th anniversary and was dedicated to the Abenaki Indians who inhabited the land. This Indian statue has a 20-foot base, and even without that base, it is still 62 feet tall. So the whole statue is 82 feet tall.
I did the correct math on that one, yes.
Would have won one over on me, because I don't know. There are over 32,000 miles of rivers and streams in the state. By 2012, by popular vote, Maine was the first place to legalize same-sex marriage. Hell yeah, go Maine.
Except 2012.
Yeah, well,
like,
I know. We're
God.
all very late to the game with
We
a lot of
are.
things. By 1990 until around 2016, Maine was rated as having the lowest rate of violent crimes in the U.S., and it was pushed to number 2 by Vermont, but still.
Pretty impressive.
Pretty impressive. And Cherryfield is the blueberry capital of the world. That's,
Oh.
again, missed opportunity.
To be the blueberries?
Cherryfield?
Oh.
Yeah. So.
There's still more.
Oh. I got to the bottom of the page and I thought that was it.
Sometimes things go on to another page.
Maine is the number 1 state for cat lovers. I mean, makes sense. They got an 18-pound cat.
Yeah.
There is a cryptozoology museum in Portland. And Portland, Maine had its name before Portland, Oregon.
Yeah.
Fighting of the Portlands.
Fighting of the Portlands.
There you go. The Crypt Inn at the Agora, located in the Lewistown/Auburn area, is a hotel where you can request access to a crypt. Why?
I don't know. Some people.
I'm so glad there's people that will do these things for us so that we don't have to do them.
Yeah, so we can kind of learn about their experience in here.
You tell me what happens and I'll share it.
Yeah.
Most forested state, with 80% of the state being forested.
You can change the way some of these sentences sound. After you have done like 3 states, just putting a ton of information, you just kind of throw things in. Okay, fine. 80% of it being covered in a forest. I don't know. We're going to need video so people can see how you are.
Oh my God. I'm not changing that sentence. I'm leaving it just the way it is. A desert is located in Maine.
Yeah.
That's it. No more. Go figure it out yourself. Maine at one time was the toothpick capital of the world. Did someone take that title from them?
It must be. I don't know who.
Maybe they just brushed their teeth better and didn't need them anymore?
It could be.
Maine is the only state that borders only one other state, and that state would be New Hampshire. Oh.
I put notes in my notes, and so this one was to Mackenzie because I never know who's going to be reading said state notes. So
I'm going to love this one. Maine has 65 lighthouses.
I was like, oh, This is going to be Mackenzie State.
So great. Although I did a lot of research on lighthouses, which I'll get into when I share my story, and I'll just get into it later. Burt's Bees was invented here. That checks out. Anna Kendrick, Stephen King, and the poet Henry Wadsworth Longfellow are all from Portland. Stephen King still lives there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he still lives up in Maine. A lot of his stories are based off of places in Maine.
Yes.
I think
that was some of the things that like popped up when I was researching.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, you could do this from that. And I was like, I don't know what that is.
I would not be surprised because all of his stuff are horror movies.
Yeah, I've never read a single one of his books or watched any of the movies.
I haven't read any of his books, but I have watched some of his movies. A lot of his movies. There are some creepy ones.
No shit.
Hotel 1408. I think that's what it's called, or Room 1408. So spooky. It does not have jump scares. I'll have to watch it again. It's super creepy.
You know what's great about Maine?
What?
Is I can really emphasize when we went on that vacation where my sister made me watch a scary movie and now I never watch scary movies again.
Mm-hmm.
We went through Maine.
Oh.
And we drove up to Maine, Portland, Maine, stayed the night, got on a catamaran, 3 hours to the island. Then that's where we stayed. And that was the start of that. And that was the last time I watched a scary movie.
Oh.
And I'm pretty sure that one also didn't have jump scares. Final Destination doesn't have any jump scares. Nothing pops out because there's no monster. It's literally death.
That's the monster.
Yeah, and you can't do anything about it.
The other day.
Except for when it skips you and then, got to go back around again.
The other day I was driving and I had to be in this one lane and the car in front of me was like one of those big ones that had a ton of like tree trunks and stuff.
Nope.
All of the cars were in the lane next to it. So I was like, because I had to turn soon. So I had to be in this lane. So I stayed way far back and I waited till it accelerated. And then I was like, okay, now I can go.
If there's one thing we can collectively all agree on as a human species, it is that you do not drive behind one of those trucks.
Absolutely.
Because I watched the first one, then I watched the beginning of the second one. Mm-hmm. So I saw that part.
Oh, yeah.
And then I saw the part where the guy, like, he's in the kitchen and his hand is stuck in the
garbage disposal.
And so I started freaking out that it was gets it out, but then he like runs out of his apartment, climbs down the fire escape and kind of like falls, and then the ladder goes through his eyeballs, and that's when I stopped watching. I said, I've had enough.
The one I saw, because I haven't really watched those movies either, but one of them that I saw was the tanning booth scene.
Yeah.
And so when you were like, we're gonna go like get tan for the wedding, and I was like, okay, that's why I asked Lady. I was like, is it a lay down or is it a stand up?
Yeah, no, that's why I've never watched that one. And I stopped watching the other one as soon as that thing went through his eyeballs.
I don't blame you.
Because I was like,
yeah.
No, thank you.
No.
And then I had happened to walk in on one of the scenes where like the door slammed shut.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, something bad's going to happen. I'm going to go. But that was the scene that traumatized me.
Yep. There's always one scene. All right.
So, Lauren, what you talking about today?
All right. So, we know Maine is full of lighthouses.
Yes.
So, I decided to let you go wild with your lighthouses, and I was going to do something else. So, we haven't done a spooky road in a while.
Ooh.
So, I wanted to cover a couple haunted and spooky roads in Maine.
We love a good spooky road.
So, I will start with a song.
Wait.
What?
So, before you do that, I can't remember if I've told this story before to the people who listen to this. So, I definitely think I've told you. You might have even been there. Do you remember the road that we would have to take to get to Holly's house?
Oh, yeah.
When you talk about creepy roads, that's what I think of.
Yeah.
Because I was convinced something was going to pop out of those trees.
That was a creepy road.
And you had to drive slow.
Yep.
And I was like, go faster.
I was once with Steph Ray and someone else, maybe Jacob, and we were driving down a creepy road because we didn't have anything to do that day. So we were just like, let's drive down creepy roads.
Yeah, that's my first instinct too when I'm bored.
Yeah, I don't know. But so we were on one road and I don't know why it was so freaky, but it felt like one of these roads where once you're on it, you're never getting off of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so we kept driving. We were like all freaking out. We're like, we need to turn around. So we turned around and we're like, this feels like a road we're never going to get off of.
Yeah.
Hated it. Gave me such bad anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So that song I'm going to start with. I'm not going to sing it because I don't know the tune.
Okay.
But the lyrics go, all you big and burly men who roll the trucks along, better listen, you'll be thankful when you hear my song. You have really got it made if you're hauling goods any place on earth but these Haynesville woods. It's a stretch of road up north in Maine that's never, ever, ever seen a smile. If they'd buried all them truckers lost in them woods, there'd be a tombstone every mile. Count 'em off, there'd be a tombstone every mile.
Jeez.
So this song is about, believe it or not, one of America's most haunted roads, because every road is the most haunted. Written by truck driver turned country singer Dick Curlis, titled A Tombstone Every Mile.
Did I tell you what the article my mom sent me?
No.
She sent me this article. She's like, oh, this seems so fascinating. Like, it's all these, like, it's like some of the most haunted places. And I was like, Mom, I really appreciate the support, and that's really sweet of you, but everywhere is the most haunted.
I know.
And she was like, really? I was like, they all say.
All claim this.
That it's the most haunted.
Yep.
So, yeah.
But I think this is the most haunted one in Maine.
This one actually might be legit.
Yeah. So that road is U.S. Route 2A. Located in the Aroostook County, Haynesville Woods in Haynesville, this road used to be the, Maine road that truckers would have to travel on. I didn't even have that. I just
Look at that.
It would be the main one they would travel on when hauling potatoes from the harvest out of Maine. So it was just a treacherous road. It has at least one 90-degree curve.
It's not just a turn.
Like a curve. Like, they call it a hairpin turn. Which makes it only that much more dangerous during inclement weather. Many lives have been lost, and some of those souls have never left the vast expanse of asphalt. One of these ghosts is the woman seen begging for help. Because, surprise. She will appear out of nowhere and will look as though she is having trouble walking. When the driver pulls over to help, she tells him that her and her husband had been in an accident and were in need of help. If the driver offers to give her a ride to go get help, she will accept and get into the car. Those who have decided to help her, though, will soon be overcome with a deep, dark, and eerie feeling and report that this woman has a chill surrounding her and that they can feel it in the car. As the car nears the end of the road, the woman just disappears. This ghost is believed to be a newlywed bride who had died in a car accident with her new husband. The man is said to have died immediately, but she had been able to free herself from the car.
When I hear stories like this, where people, like, invite the ghost in, not realizing it's a ghost, and then they just disappear, the kind of mental breakdown that I would have,
right,
if that occurred, I would check myself into an asylum.
Yeah.
Like, immediately.
And I just also would never give anyone a ride, so.
Well, yeah, that too. But I'm just saying.
Yeah.
If I accidentally picked somebody up and they weren't real and then they just were gone.
Oh, yeah. No. I have this story my grandma told me once. I love her. I don't know how she didn't die in, like, the 70s. But she just, like, or when she was younger, she just has all these wild stories. And I'm like, Grandma. So one of them, she was driving one day and there was a hitchhiker. So she picked up the hitchhiker. She's a woman. She picked up a guy.
You can do that in the 70s.
Well, she picked up this guy and he gets in the car and he asks her, like, how do you know that I'm not a murderer? Like, how do you know I'm not going to, like, are you not afraid that I could, like, hurt you?
Who opens with that?
Well, after they talked, I guess he said this. So she was like, oh, no, I'm not afraid at all because you see that car behind me? Yeah, my husband and his brother are in the car following us. They weren't in the car behind her. And I was like,
smart lady.
Right. I was like, Grandma, that was genius.
That was genius.
Mm-hmm.
Very good.
But I was like, why did you pick up the hitchhiker? So.
You're scary, Rip.
Yes.
Sorry.
So once outside of the car, she realizes, so they got in the car accident. She escapes the car. So once she got outside of the car, she realized that she was badly hurt and was able to walk. So she met her end by freezing to death on the side of the road. Another ghost seen on this road is the ghost of a little girl. It is said that on August 22nd, 1967, 2 little girls were struck by tractor trailers and killed. This incident was actually confirmed in town records, and it revealed that 2 10-year-old girls did die on August 22nd, 1976.
Oh.
So just like the bride, this little girl ghost is known to ask for a ride and will also disappear right when the car reaches the end of the road.
I would 100% pull over for a kid.
I would too.
So.
I would too. There's one other legend I read about this road. I believed it occurred near the road, in the woods that surround this road, so the Haynesville roads, but it was too good to not keep out. So it's like, you have to drive through the woods on this road. So spooky.
It's close by.
Exactly. So this is the legend of the Flesher Witch.
No, thank you.
A being who lurks around the woods that surround U.S. Route 2A. According to the local legend.
Why would you even go into the fucking woods?
Well, you have to drive through the woods.
Oh, you got to drive through these woods.
Well, yeah, these woods surround this road.
Ew.
So that's why I decided to just include this.
Oh,
this
I
thing.
see. I thought it was like off to the side.
No, you have to drive through these woods.
Got it.
So according to the local legend, back in the 1800s, a girl named Annie Wilcox moved into a house in Haynesville with her brother and parents. All seemed all right at first, but shortly after moving in, Annie began having horrible dreams at night. She would also hear a scratching noise at her window, as if something or someone were trying to get in. She complained to her parents, who just brushed off her concerns as the imagination of a child. But things kept increasing around Annie. She said something unseen, would pull her blankets off of her while she was sleeping. She would also feel something biting her skin late at night. And other times, she would hear soft whispers coming from the darkness. No. So finally, one night, after running into her parents' room in tears, her parents believed her. Her face had been covered in bloody scratches. She told her parents that a woman with a melted face had done this to her.
Oh!
Her parents searched her room, but their search came up empty. Knowing how scared their daughter was, they allowed her to sleep in their room with them that night. Things in the house seemed to calm down a bit after that until one day the family was out walking in the woods. As they were walking, the parents soon realized that Annie, who had been bringing up the rear, was nowhere to be seen. Soon, a terrifying scream could be heard. Her parents spent hours searching but were unable to find Annie. Then, a few weeks later, a gruesome discovery was made. Some hunters, who had been walking around in the woods, found Annie's body in a small clearing. Her face was missing, and next to her was the corpse of an old woman whose face resembled melting wax. Though her body had been found, it is reported that the Flesher Witch still stalks around the woods. I know, and the pictures of the Flesher Witch are so gross.
Carry on.
So I love hauntedplaces.org because they have a comment section. So in 2019, Justin G said that he had been traveling on the road and he and his friends saw a woman standing in the middle of the road, but as they got closer, she vanished. Then we have Brownsville Road and Bridge located on Maine Route 11 in Millinocket. So this road contains a bridge known as the Green Bridge, and right over the bridge you may encounter the White Lady of Millinocket.
There's always a white lady of something.
This seems to be our main theme on these roads.
There you go.
That was the main pun. Oh.
You're overdoing it.
I didn't mean to do that, and then it just happens because it's Maine. So those are my 2 puns. Okay, so we also have a ghostly newlywed bride on this road as well. It is said that she can be seen walking the woods searching for her lost love. So her story goes that in the 1950s, her and her husband ended up in a car accident, of course, after a dense fog had rolled in. The car had run off the road and ended up down an embankment near the bridge. The husband was able to get out of the car and went to get help while his wife remained behind in the car. The husband returned shortly after, but his wife was gone, never to be seen again. But another story goes that a newlywed couple was traveling down the road on a dark, cold winter night. The husband had been drinking and lost control of the car, driving it straight into a telephone pole where he died instantly. The young bride crawled from the wreckage and made her way to the dark road, hoping that she would be able to flag down some help. But help never came, and just like the bride from Route 2A, she froze to death right on the side of the road, waiting in her wedding dress.
Too bad they couldn't meet up.
Yeah. But she has been seen walking the road. Locals have reported seeing and even hearing her cross the bridge at night. She looks sad and just wanders the area aimlessly and will disappear the moment someone tries to help her. And on misty nights, people have reported seeing her handprints on their car. Some drivers who have actually ended up talking to this bride say that she tells the driver her whole situation, but as they start to drive away to find help, she disappears. It is even said that the lover's wrecked car can still be found in the woods if you go searching. But apparently just off the road, there is actually the remains of a car from the 1950s, but there's no way to confirm if this is the car. So, hauntedplaces.org comments. Hilda claims that her husband saw a white wispy figure in the woods off of the road as well as an old rusted wrecked car, but they have gone back and couldn't find the car again. Jennifer claimed that she saw a wispy white lady in 1996. Dustin claimed he saw her walking along the side of the road one night. Joshua was fishing there and heard rocks being thrown and something large hitting the sides of trees. So Ralph commented and said that Joshua may have had a run-in with Bigfoot. So maybe we have Bigfoot off of this road as well. Then we have Rachel, who went looking for the white lady. While her and her friends never saw this lady, she claimed that they saw an early times railroad worker who had an old light who disappeared right before their eyes. So then we are on to Route 182, which is Catherine's Hill, also known as Black Woods Road. So this stretch of road is located between Hancock and Washington County and is the road that connects the two. It runs through Township 10 and goes between Franklin and Cherryfield, so the blueberry capital of the world.
Not cherries, though.
Not cherries.
Should be berry field.
Oh, that sounds good. We have a Berryville near us.
Yes, we do.
Yeah. It would be my exit to get home.
Yep.
The woods that encompass the road are known as Black Woods, and the lake nearby is Tunk Lake. These woods are dense, so as the sun sets, an intense darkness creeps in, and soon it feels as if you are completely alone. This is when the legend of Catherine starts to come to mind. A legend that has been passed down for decades, maybe even centuries, and a legend that makes this road a spooky road. Catherine's story goes all the same as the others, it seems. Her name was Catherine Downing, and she was from Cherryfield. Her and her husband had gotten into an awful car accident while on this road, and both were killed.
And they say women can't drive.
Some legends say it was on the way to prom. Others say she was decapitated in this incident.
Jesus.
So each telling starts the same. A car is driving silently down Route 182 until they stumble upon a young woman walking on the lonely stretch of road looking for help.
She lost her head.
Well, we don't know. We don't know with the head yet. She is wearing an evening gown that is either pale blue or even white. This woman, Catherine, will tell you that she needs help getting to Bar Harbor or even Bangor. Bar Harbor isn't even relatively on your way, but there is something inside of you telling that you need to help this woman. And agreeing to help her is a good thing because turning her away could mean bad fortune for the driver. You offer her a ride and she sits in the back. She never responds to any questions you ask, but the next time you turn around to look at her, she's gone.
Fuck that.
You turn your gaze back to the road, and there she is, standing right in the middle of the road, right in front of you.
Fuck that.
Or if she decided to remain in your car for longer, the moment she disappears, you may notice she left a puddle of cold water. Don't know where the cold water comes behind, but either way, even picking her up could mean misfortune. It is said that those who stop to help Catherine have lost control of their vehicle, have come down with a bad illness, or even found that they were surrounded by bad luck. So either way, you just cannot win. Some have been lucky enough to escape with their lives after encountering Catherine, but others have never made it off of Route 182. It is said that in Catherine's eyes, no good deed goes unpunished. But most are warned to pick her up and help her out. Not doing so is even more dangerous. So there is a story about a salesman who encountered Catherine. He was driving along Route 182 when he saw a woman, who we now know to be Catherine, on the side of the road. He was in a hurry getting to wherever he had to be, but seeing a woman all alone in a formal gown on the side of the road worried the man. He grew uneasy looking at her, but knew there was just something off about this woman, so he sped right past her. He glanced back in his rearview mirror, and to his absolute horror, Catherine was sitting in his back seat.
Fuck that.
Without her head. Seeing her with blood flowing from her neck, the man lost control of his car.
Did he also lose his head?
He hit a tree and died on impact.
There you go.
A musician named Dale Whitney also had an encounter. He was driving home after a gig he had in Bar Harbor. While driving down the road, he sees Catherine. He stops and asks if she needs help, to which she replies that she needs a man to take her to Bar Harbor. Whitney is feeling uneasy at this point. He takes a good look at the woman and realizes that she is completely transparent. So he tells Catherine that he had just come from Bar Harbor. He slams his foot on the gas and zooms away. But shortly down the road, he starts to feel bad. It's late, so he starts to think that his eyes are playing tricks on him. This was a woman who needed help, not a transparent figure, so he turns around to go back and help the woman. But she is nowhere to be found. He goes home, but the next day he finds himself driving back down this road again when he comes upon an accident. A van is overturned, clearly totaled beyond repair. So bad that he doesn't believe anyone in that car could have survived. Whitney wonders if this van didn't stop for the woman, so they faced an awful fate. And then I found a story on Reddit about the devil truck of Route 182.
Oh.
The only place I heard about this was on this Reddit page, but I wanted to add it anyways. So there's a deputy who's new to the area. He stops by a gas station on his way home to grab something to drink. He hops in his cruiser, sets it to cruise control at 50 miles per hour, and starts his drive. Only about 3 miles from the gas station, a huge truck, like a semi-truck, pulls out behind the cop. About 25 minutes later, all of a sudden, the truck behind the deputy slams into the back of his cruiser, sending his car spinning right into the guardrails.
Oh my God.
The cop is fine and gets out of his car looking for the truck, but doesn't see it anywhere. There's literally no sign of this huge truck on this huge, expansive road. He then tries the radio to call the other cops to tell him what happened, but his radio isn't working. Thankfully, an older guy who the deputy he had been talking to at the gas station was driving on the road and stopped to help him. The older man said something very haunting to the deputy. He said, quote, "Must have been going fast. The devil truck doesn't like speeders." The deputy walks back over to the tree he hit and sees the speed limit sign laying on the grass. It said, speed limit 45.
He's really on the highway to hell, isn't he?
Good one.
Thank you.
Some of these I could have thought of. I don't know. All right.
Well, I'm sitting here listening to this, thinking so hard about any road or driving pun that I can come up with.
And I used some of them because, that's what I was thinking last week when I also had, a car in a road. So I was like, I'm not going to use, reverse,
You could.
I could, but I already did. So I can't again. Or did I? I could have erased it because I thought it was really stupid.
You said something about going into a ditch.
Well, yeah, that was a good one.
That was a good one.
Thank you. All right, so we have Route 26 in Poland, which is in Maine. So we have another mysterious bride in a flowing white dress, of course. So as you're driving, you spot this woman walking down the road in her long white dress, but you can tell she is clearly panicked. When you pull over to help her out, she comes up to your window and says, "Please hurry, I'm late for my wedding." So you pick her up and haul ass to the church to make sure that this bride can get there on time. But the whole time, you wonder why someone would be having their wedding so late. As you turn to ask the bride that exact question, she whispers goodbye and is gone. This experience...
She says goodbye.
Yeah, very considerate. This experience actually happened to a man named David, who Mark LaFlamme wrote about in 2009. He recounts his story in the Lewiston Sun Journal. David had never heard of the stories about this ghostly woman, so just before 2 a.m., he was driving down Route 26 heading to Oxford. Suddenly, his headlights pick up something glowing on the side of the road. As he drove closer, he realized that it was a young woman. David pulled over, and the woman came up to the window and asked David, "Can you bring me to the church on Route 11? Which we talked about earlier, so I wonder if it's at all connected. David decides to help her, and she climbs into the car, tucking her long dress in with her. David and the woman chatted a little, just casual conversation, but the woman seemed agitated during their conversation. At some point, she asked David if maybe he could go a little bit faster as she was running late to her wedding. David kept driving and soon enough turned onto Route 11 and saw what appeared to be a church up ahead. He turned to his passenger and asked if this was the right place. She looked at him, and he noted that she looked like a completely normal person. But instead of answering his question, she said, "There's a cop coming." Confused by the sudden comment, David turned and soon enough saw a cop cruiser pass him. As he was looking, his passenger whispered goodbye. He immediately turned around and found he was alone in the car. He never heard his door open. He couldn't see the woman anywhere. So David ends up flagging down the cop and asking him if he saw a woman in the car with him when he drove by. The officer told David that he had only seen David and no one else had been in the car with him. I know. The origin story of this woman has a few versions. So one is our typical one of a young woman who was killed on her way to prom. But another version says she may have been the murdered bride of George Knight, who was slashed to death in her farmhouse off of Route 11 in 1856. I didn't look that up, but I could have, but I did not. So she is said to deliver a warning or even a prediction to the person who picks her up. Not David, obviously, but maybe other people. So hauntedplaces.org. Kelly said that she was driving down the road one night and saw a woman with curly brown hair and an updo wearing a sparkly dress. But that woman was walking with someone else. Later, Kelly read the paper with an article about this ghost and realized that is who she had seen. Oof. So last but not least, we have Old Witch Trot Road in York. This road gets its name from its supposed history. York is the second oldest town in Maine and has a dead-end spooky road located here. The odd name of this street comes from George...
Really? You couldn't even do something with dead end?
I don't know. I'm telling you. I don't know. I literally, on my to-do list, I was like, think of puns for Maine. So this street comes from George Burroughs, a pastor of Salem Village in Massachusetts, who I mentioned in our witchy episode. So he was hanged even though he was able to recite the Lord's Prayer perfectly. That's the one. Right. So a thing that witches apparently weren't able to do. But there is more to his story. So after agreements made weren't upheld, Burroughs left Salem with his family in 1683. But when the witch craze started in 1692, people had visions that the witches were being led by a man dressed as a pastor. So even though Burroughs left 9 years prior, he obviously had to be the one these visions were talking about. It sealed the deal also that his late wife had appeared to people in the village, telling him that she was killed by Burroughs and that she wasn't the only one he had killed.
Oh, Jesus.
Like, sure. So Burroughs was accused of being the most powerful witch in New England and had even been labeled as a conjurer. So constables set out to his house to arrest him. Like, they had to travel to his new house. He was arrested without any issue and they bound him. It is believed that binding a witch would make them unable to use their magical powers. So on their way back to Massachusetts with Burroughs in tow, he suggested a shortcut that would help them get there more quickly, so the party set out on that shortcut. But as they were making their way through the woods, the constables began to feel unsettled. Dark clouds started to fill the sky and electricity could be sensed in the air. A storm was definitely coming.
No, I was just about to say, it's a fucking thunderstorm.
Yeah. So this was starting to become an intense storm. So obviously, because it was intense, it had been sent by Satan in a way to prevent the constables from bringing Burroughs to the authorities in Salem.
Jesus.
Rain started pouring out of the sky, accompanied by horrible lightning. Trees were being knocked down onto the road. The storm raged, but eventually it passed, and the constables breathed a sigh of relief, knowing that they could now deliver Burroughs to the authorities. According to another legend, also during the Salem witch trials and subsequent New England witch trials, condemned witches would be forced to walk down the road to meet the hangman's noose. Apparently, back in the 60s, there was a noose hanging from a large elm tree about 3/4 of the way down the road. Those who have traveled down this road have reported hearing the hooves of horses. They also get a very eerie feeling where the hair on the back of their necks rises. But the validity of the events that took place on this road are questioned, as it is said that no witches were executed in York, but regardless, still a spooky road. So there you have it, some spooky roads in Maine. And if you want to take a road trip, you know where to go.
No, or not.
Or not. No.
Or not go.
All right, Mackenzie. What are you telling us that has many, many puns associated with it that I know you are freaking excited about?
Tee-hee.
We really do need a camera so people can see the excitement on your face.
So before I share some lightning stories, instead of frightening, lightning, of the Wood Island Lighthouse, I would like to share about the Seguin, whatever, Island Lighthouse. It's supposedly haunted. Very little information was able to be found.
Yes, I did see this one.
So I gave up on it. But I only bring it up because if anyone would like to create an image in their mind when I say I want to live on a lighthouse with 8 fluffy dogs, this is where I would want to do it.
Seguin Lighthouse?
Because it is on an island, all by itself. No one else.
Oh, it's cute.
Right.
Oh, I could see you living here. No, I couldn't. You'd be so freaking terrified.
Yes.
It is all by itself. You would not do well here.
Yes, I did quite a bit of research on lighthouse living. So it is going to remain a happy place
Okay.
because from everything I've read, being a lighthouse keeper is a pain in the ass.
Oh, yeah, it sounds awful.
Like even people who buy like decommissioned lighthouses,
Mhm.
since they're in such shitty condition, it's like constant work even when you fix shit.
Yeah.
So then I was like, renting for a vacation.
I was literally just going to ask, are there any Airbnbs?
I was sleepy, so I stopped looking.
That would be so fun.
But I just knew that I was like, okay, maybe not live.
We could go there for an Airbnb trip and like record in a creepy lighthouse. Fun lighthouse.
It's my happy place. I don't want to ruin that.
We could go visit one.
Yes, but not creepy.
Okay, fine. Cute little lighthouse, and we'll record a creepy episode in a cute little lighthouse.
I do know that there's some sort of Airbnb that you can stay. Like, I don't know if it's specifically a lighthouse or kind of looks like one. I don't know. I found it somewhere. But it's on a secluded island. You can only get there by boat, and the house itself plus lighthouse is just really nice.
Yeah.
But nothing more on that lighthouse because it's dim compared to the lighthouse I'm talking about today.
We need like a little pun counter. Are we at 2 for this episode?
Yes. So Wood Island Lighthouse stands at 47 feet tall, or 14.3 meters, at the southern end of Wood Island near Saco Bay. The lighthouse was commissioned by Thomas Jefferson and was completed in 1807. Its first keeper was a man named Benjamin Cole, and the lighthouse was run by a keeper until the Coast Guard took control of it in 1939. And they've been running it ever since. Now, I did do a little bit more research, and apparently, even when the Coast Guard took over, they had keepers, I think, 80s-ish.
Okay.
Something like that. And then it became automatic, so they don't need it anymore.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of them became automatic at some point.
Yep.
But you still need someone to like go take care of it.
Yes, but
not as much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in January of 1988, the lighthouse was added to the Register of Historic Places, and because it is no longer open to the public, but you can become enlightened with a guided tour about the lighthouse's history. And Wood Island Lighthouse is the second oldest lighthouse in Maine and the 11th oldest in the country.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I forget we're doing like a certain state. Like I know we did the research in it, but there's like a lighthouse, I think in California, that's like super creepy. And I was like, I wonder if this is what she's going to talk about.
It's in California.
I know.
Okay.
I know. And then I remembered, oh no, we're talking about Maine.
So the lighthouse, of course, comes with a darker side. The main story that haunts this lighthouse takes us back to the summer of 1896.
We're at 5, folks.
Mm-hmm. At the time, Thomas O'Kert was the lighthouse keeper, and Frederick Milliken was a lobster fisherman and the part-time sheriff on the small island. Milliken lives with his wife and 3 kids and was described as a gentle giant. Milliken owned the only other building on the island, aside from the lighthouse and his house.
Mm-hmm.
And Howard Hobbs and William Moses were part-time fishermen and had asked Milliken if they could rent out a shack that he had on his property. The men did their own cooking, cleaning, slept on the couch in the loft, self-sufficient. Mm-hmm. One night, the 24-year-olds went out, had a night on the town on the mainland, and the 2 were becoming drunk and disorderly, and Deputy Sheriff Duff had given them a warning to calm down or else he would have to arrest them. Hobbs and Moses listened to the sheriff and decided to head home. They walked over to their small rowboat and rowed their way back to the island. When they arrived, Milliken and his stepson were doing work outside. When the 2 drunken men came sauntering up to their shack. I thought that said shake.
To their shake.
To their shake.
My milkshake brings all the boys to the yard.
And they're like, Milliken. Milliken had asked to speak with the men and followed behind them, heading over to the main house. The men had been light on rent. And Milliken had had enough of them living for free off of his land. Hobbs was still hopped up.
Hopped?
Yeah, because his name's Hobbs. Hopped. And like hops, like beer. Hops. Hopped up. Hops.
Is Milligan a beer?
No. The guy who was drunk, his name is Hobbs.
Oh, because he was drunk.
And he was drunk.
Okay.
So he's hopped up.
I get it. Yeah. Okay.
That one, okay. Didn't land. That's fine. The other ones are okay.
We'll still count it. We're at 7.
Yeah. He decided to bring his .42 caliber rifle with him because apparently he wanted to do some shooting practice after talking to Milliken. Who the fuck knows why? So when they arrived at the home, Milliken was concerned that the rifle that Hobbs was holding was loaded. He asked him several times if it was, and Hobbs replied, nope, it's not. Milliken didn't believe him, so he went to reach for the gun, and Hobbs shot him. Mrs. Milliken and Moses carried Mr. Milliken into the house and laid him on the bed. Moses rushed to the pool, which I think that's a place.
A pool is a place?
Yeah, because it was like capitalized, capital P.
Oh, okay.
But I wasn't sure what the pool was.
Yeah.
And phoned for a doctor's help as soon as possible. Dr. E.D. O'Neill rushed over to the small island. Meanwhile, Mr. Milliken was still conscious, and Hobbs, realizing what he had done, asked if there was anything that he could do, and Milliken asked for his boots to be taken off. I thought this part was kind of weird.
Yeah.
So we took them off. He was still in a drunken haze, and he blamed Milliken for shooting him, saying, quote, "It was all your fault, Fred. If you hadn't started to take the gun away from me, I wouldn't have fired." Because that's also my first gut reaction.
Right.
When someone takes my shit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Men. So after the boots were off, Milliken grabbed the rifle again to hold on to it. And Mrs. Milliken asked Hobbs to put it down. She even tried to take the gun away from him, reassuring him that she would take care of it. To which Hobbs shot out. No, you don't. You can't have that gun. Don't you come toward me. If you do, I will put a bullet through you too.
Oh.
So I'm like, okay, at first I felt bad for you because when I first read about the story, it sounded like maybe it went off on accident.
Mm-hmm.
But from this story that I read, like they said that he straight up like lifted up the gun, ready to go, and shot at the dude.
Mm.
And so then Mr. Milliken used all of his strength that he had to protect his wife, saying, "Don't kill her, Howard. She's never done you any harm."
Aww.
Thinking fast on her feet, Mrs. Milliken asked Hobbs to go inform the lighthouse keeper, Mr. O'Kurt, about the events that had transpired. Hobbs told the keeper what happened, and Mr. O'Kurt tried to persuade Hobbs to turn himself in. Both men returned to the house to find that Mr. Milliken had died.
Aw.
Held out for 45 minutes.
Wow.
That was pretty good.
Yeah.
At this point, Hobbs returned to a small shack. I wrote shake. That's why I keep wanting to say shake, because that's what I wrote. I didn't write shack. I wrote shake.
And now I keep thinking of Shake Shack.
Yeah. Where he ended up taking his own life with the same rifle that he used to take Milliken's.
Ooh.
So by the time the doctor arrived, all parties were deceased, and so there was no need for him to rush. Milliken left behind his wife and 3 stepchildren. What I thought was interesting is how this specific article had described Mrs. Milliken's demeanor. So it said, Mrs. Milliken bore the shock of the killing of her husband before her very eyes. With remarkable fortitude, and all through the time that the authorities were on the island, she showed great calmness and patience. What's interesting is how back then, her remaining calm was seen as a sign of strength, but now it would be seen as a sign of guilt.
Interesting.
Because it's always like, oh, well, they didn't like...
Then there's always the argument, though, like, people grieve differently.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it's interesting because you always hear on, like, the TV shows or whatever where, like, oh, they were remorseful, so we didn't think anything, or they weren't remorseful, so we did. So it's just interesting how the times changed.
Well, because now we know what mental health is.
Right, and it's kind of okay to be hysterical if you want to be.
Yeah.
This is my favorite one. So, what was all the fuss about?
Okay, that was a good one.
Thank you.
That was a really good one.
Let's shed some light on the haunted experiences in this lighthouse.
I just want people to know, Mackenzie texted me before we were doing this episode. She goes, I have like 12 puns in this. I am so excited. And as she was doing the research, I could see this. She was like, all right, I just did 6. And then I would get a text a couple minutes later. Okay, I have 7. And then a couple minutes later, okay, I have 8 puns now. Like, this is Mackenzie's, like, this is where you shine.
Oh, this is great. So one site reported that in 1905, the lighthouse keeper, Charles Burke, who came after this other guy, was so disturbed by the ghosts that he had heard and seen in the lighthouse that he just left his post unattended. Supposedly, he went and stayed at a boarding house on the mainland where he jumped to his death from the 3rd floor.
Oh.
I didn't look more into that, so I don't know how legit it is, but Charles Burke definitely was the lighthouse keeper after the first guy.
Okay.
So that much is true.
Mm-hmm.
How he dealt with it, not sure. So I was going to include another story, but when I read the entire article, the person who wrote it clearly did not believe in ghostly happenings, and I found him to be rude, so I'm not going to be sharing his insights.
I get that.
He added a dullness to the slit party.
Oh,
2 more. I didn't even count those. Forgot about those ones.
so what are we at, 10?
I don't know. Now we're at 12.
Oh, okay, I missed 2.
Yeah.
All right, we're at 12.
But yeah, this guy was like, the way he was retelling the story is definitely someone who is like, supposedly this happened, or they said that, whatever.
Yeah.
And he even like threw in like some sort of psychologist, scientist dude that talked about, there's this, stupid phenomenon and, people are going to believe all these crazy things and blah, blah, blah.
Ew, we don't like him.
And I'm like, okay, let's go with your idea that, science, got facts, has evidence, cool beans. Cool.
Yeah.
We'll go with that.
Mm-hmm.
I believe you. When I see scientific things, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. I get that. But George Washington died not knowing dinosaurs existed. Does that mean that they didn't exist? No, it just means that he didn't know about it.
Right.
The continental drift theory, Pangea, that was not discovered until 1960.
Really?
Does that mean that it wasn't true up until 1960? No. It just means that that's when we figured it out.
And it's like, was grabbing it out a thing before Isaac Newton had an apple on his head?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, science is all about understanding and learning how the world works.
And evolving.
And evolving. Scientists all the time. Look at what happened with COVID. Every few months, they figured out
something new.
Because that's how science works.
And it's not that anything was made up beforehand. It was just that we didn't know it beforehand. And they did research to get to something new.
And guess what? Do you know how many fucking theories are in science? Guess what a theory is? An idea. It's not a scientific law. It's something that someone has used from somebody else's idea and said, this might possibly be a thing.
We have found something that fires up Mackenzie.
Like, get the fuck out of here.
No, I agree.
I will be the first to admit that sometimes some of this shit, I'm like, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm also like, I'm not going to say that it's not true.
Right. Because there's no way to know.
All I'm going off of is whether or not I believe that this situation is true. Mm-hmm. There's no factual evidence that is proving me wrong. It is truly my belief. So if you're going to go the science route, you just have no information that proves this to be true. But you also don't have any information that proves it to not be true. So use your little scientific fucking mind and open it a little bit.
And then can't we make an argument for like the whole energy thing? Like you can't create or destroy energy or whatever. So what is that thing?
Yeah, no, that's right.
Yeah. So if someone dies, where does their energy go?
Right.
Yeah.
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 Mm-hmm. Or like the space-time continuum type of thing, like the thing that Einstein is known for.
Yeah.
That's all quantum like theories.
Ugh,
that's
so
not
confusing.
like you cannot prove that.
Mm-hmm.
But yet we're all like, oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just like math is made up.
Math is so made up.
It really is. Like who decided that 2 + 3 = 5? You know what I mean?
Okay, well that
No, but you know what I mean at the beginning of time, like who decided?
I think it was more so
it's a thing that we make sense now because we know what 2 is, we know what 3 is, and we know what 5 is.
Someone conceptualized that.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Someone decided that.
It's just so weird.
That was some of like the first written stuff was
It's
numbers.
just so weird.
It is weird. But math makes a little bit more sense because you can physically see 3 and 2, but someone just assigned that numbers. It's the
yes,
same.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the same thing why someone decided red is red.
Yeah.
Someone just decided that that's going to be a thing. Everything in this world is made up.
Do you ever think that your red is different from my red?
Sometimes.
Like, I know that, like, that cabinet is black. Yeah. But maybe my black, because we've learned our whole lives that is black, but maybe my black is actually your blue. But because we know that that color is black, that's what we all associate. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think it's so weird.
It's like the same thing where, like, people experience the same situation but have different perspectives. Like, you think a man was talking to us in the elevator. I mean, a woman. And it was a man. So, there you go. 2 different...
Ergo.
Ergo. But yeah, I was just perturbed. I was like reading it and like the things he had in there sounded interesting. And then I kept going and I was like, you're rude.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about you. Thank you.
Also don't know why the Lighthouse website included his story on it because they're definitely making fun of them. So I would not include that on my website. That's just me.
Maybe they just wanted more information.
Any user. Flash forward to 2005.
13.
When the New England Ghost Project came onto the scene, Ron Kolick and his team had conducted over 150 investigations. Him and his team had set up shop in the kitchen of the I probably could have come up with a good one for that one.
You really could
Setting up
have.
shop in the kitchen.
There's something there.
There is something
There
there.
is something.
I missed it. I'm not sure what it is, though. But anyway, they set up shop in the kitchen of the lighthouse. So with the way that the lighthouse is, and you'll see this in pictures, you have the house, and then there's this like walkway, but it's like closed in, and then the lighthouse itself is attached to that.
Okay.
So sometimes you have like two separate buildings, but they're technically attached.
Okay.
The team consists of Ron and Maureen Wood, who found an ad for a medium in the local paper, Leo Monfett, who works their infrared cameras, and Karen Mossy, who works their EVP.
Okay. So they got cooking on their investigation.
Yes! Love it. So they began their investigation in the tower of the lighthouse. A ghost had made contact with Maureen, and she said he kept saying, "I didn't mean to do it. I didn't mean to do it."
Ew.
Now, little sidebar. The articles I read about this experience, all of the things that were shared about what was said are because either the ghost spoke to her or like
Spoke to the medium.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or like took over.
Okay.
So the only person
So either spoke to her or spoke through her.
Yeah.
Okay.
So no one really like heard other things. They felt other things.
Okay.
But they didn't necessarily hear other things.
Gotcha.
So just kind of keep that in mind as I say like, oh, this person said.
Okay.
So believe what you want. Okay. I had to find where I was because I just improv that part. So the person who wrote these articles also mentioned that when a spirit does this kind of thing with entering into someone's body, it takes a lot of energy, which then makes the room really, really, really cold.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So the people that were working in the safe room said that the temperature readings had dropped significantly when this ghost had entered her body, saying, "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do it. I didn't mean to do it." So believe what you wish, but just keep that in mind. It's all through Maureen.
Okay.
So next, the crew went into the attic of the house and they brought their infrared cameras. And from what it sounded like the two men and I guess this journalist went up and they saw like a green dot of some sort or green thing.
Okay.
And then they called Maureen up.
Okay.
Okay. So she goes up, tries to see if she can make contact. After about an hour, nothing happens. So they move on. So they moved to the outside of the house and started walking along the wooden boardwalk that connects the lighthouse to the boathouse. And as they were walking, Maureen was suddenly pushed to the ground and she began crawling on the ground as if she was trying to get away from something.
Ew.
Yeah. The last place that they went was the basement, and a spirit of a remorseful man and a woman had made contact with Maureen, and the crew captured images using infrared cameras. And when it was developed later, there was a floating orb in the picture. And I'm not sure if the way that this person wrote it, I was trying to interpret what they meant, because it sounded like they said that they saw the orb, but then it turned into an actual image of a person.
In the picture or in their like real life?
Well, at first I thought it was in real life, but then when I reread it, I said, no, it was a picture because it said when it was later developed. And so
was one picture like an orb and then the next picture was like a blurry figure, then the next was person?
I don't know.
Okay.
Because it didn't really specify. And
Yeah.
I tried to look it up. I even went to these people's website and they don't have, like, this was in 2005.
Yeah.
They don't have things posted from back then.
I got you. Yeah.
So I believe what you want. I don't know. That's supposedly what happened, is that there was some sort of image of this woman captured on a photo.
Okay.
So there you go. But the second story I have, this is where things get interesting. So it begins with a man in Missouri who had a horrible dream about 4 girls being trapped and held against their will. The man saw images of the Wood Island Lighthouse and a man's face. When he woke up, he decided to look into this lighthouse, and he saw the investigation previously done by the ghost hunters. So the one I just told you about was 2005, this is 2006.
Okay.
Immediately recognized Ron's face because it was the one he saw in his dreams.
Ooh.
Missouri, Maine.
Yeah.
Very far.
Yeah.
So he decided to call Ron and inform him of the dream. Ron was eager to investigate and even wrote down what happened and put it in an undisclosed location so that Maureen could not see the information.
Mm-hmm.
So the crew went back to the lighthouse, and this reporter accompanied them. And they headed out towards the boardwalk where Maureen had like been pushed, fallen, or whatever. And she used a dousing method.
Oh, yeah.
And it's where they take a piece of citron, which when I looked that up, it said it was fruit. So it was like, well, you got a piece of fruit hanging from the thing? Anyway. And it's on a string, and based on the direction it swings, that would kind of indicate.
So kind of like a pendulum?
Yes. That's what I was imagining.
Mm-hmm. I just picture a chain with like an orange.
Right. Like that's like as soon as I Googled it, I thought it was going to be some sort of like crystally whatever, and it's fucking citrus.
It's so weird. Okay.
And I was like, do you got like a fucking orange peel? Like,
yeah.
I don't know. I didn't, like I said, whatever. The point being, so when the crew was on the boardwalk, Maureen had made contact with a female spirit who said that she had been murdered by a Native American on the island, which,
of course, yeah.
You know, because it's like, I don't know how long ago that would have had to be a really long time ago.
Yeah.
So, Maureen thought that the spirit might want help, but it had disappeared, and Maureen was feeling a pull towards the north end of the island. So they stepped off onto the boardwalk, and Maureen had led them to the spot on the ground. And she said that 3 girls had been buried here, and all had been murdered, and there used to be a shack that sat there, and then it was burned to the ground. And at this point in the investigation, nobody knew about this man's dream except for Ron.
Oh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh, that gave me goosebumps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she went on to say that the girls had been held there against their will and that they wanted their story to be heard.
Ew. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
It gets better. So they head back to the house and they go back to the basement where they had captured the picture of the ghost. Mm-hmm. Apparently, according to Maureen, ghost not happy about that.
Mm-hmm. He didn't want his picture taken?
No.
Oh, yeah.
Did not want it. I guess I don't know. She was upset with them. And she was like, not communicating with them. So the crew decided to go back upstairs. So Ron had left like a camera, maybe like a candle or two, and unscrewed the light bulbs. Mm-hmm. And then as they made their way back upstairs, the basement light turns back on.
Oh.
This one, I believe it just because of there was a lot of people there, and like this woman saying the things that she felt. I'm like, okay. You can tell that like she's trying to get to the point that like there was definitely something that happened.
Yeah.
So the last place they go is back up into the attic of the lighthouse. And so the woman describes that the only sound you can really hear is the waves like crashing against, the rocks and stuff. So Maureen asked everybody to hold hands. And at the beginning, it's like the sound of rain all of a sudden starts pouring down on the roof, and almost as soon as it started, it stopped. Mm-hmm. And then she said that she heard what sounded like a coin dropping like right next to her head. And then all of a sudden, Maureen had a really insanely tight grip on this woman's hand, and I guess her voice deepened. She started talking with a Spanish accent, and the man said that he had been stuck on the island for 360 days, assuming before he died. Mm-hmm. And his name was Robert, and that he said the year was 1762. Ooh. And that the captain of his ship had left him there on the island. And when they asked him like what flag he flew under, he said he doesn't fly under a flag. So they were like, oh, you're a pirate. And I guess he didn't like being called a pirate. He started getting all pissy. But the woman
like
who was
a true pirate.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
But the woman who was holding Maureen's hand said that her body temperature was practically freezing.
Ooh.
And then once the spirit left her body, her temperature returned to normal.
Interesting. Yeah. We had things like that when we would investigate. We would go to Fairy Plantation House, and we had a thermometer camera or a thermometer gun. And so we could do that too, where we would look at a space. One of the people who like worked at the house said she was a medium. And so she was like, oh, the little boy's next to me. And so the room we were in was like probably like 68, 70-ish. And so we shined the like thermometer gun right where she said the ghost was. And it was like 50 degrees.
Yeah. Just wild.
I
want
know.
your evidence. Explain that one, scientist.
Yeah. Scientist.
So while some of the encounters might be a little skeptical, people who, there's a whole program that was created to restore the lighthouse.
Oh, nice.
And even these people said that when they were restoring it, materials were constantly moved in places they shouldn't be. So regardless of the exact encounters you think happened, something's going on.
Yeah.
So believe whatever you wish. But in light of all this information, there is something definitely spooktacular happening in this lighthouse. And that is my story.
I think you had 15 in there. Well, 16 if we count spooktacular.
Well, yeah, spectacular, spectacular.
Yeah, I understand, yeah. So we got 16. That's very impressive compared to my 2. You need to post that picture of your face just like that.
No,
it's so cute.
Mm-mm. There's a reason I don't have a Be Real. I don't want to be real. I'm good with being fake.
My Be Real often, it'll be like at the most random times, like when I'm in bed. So I'll take a picture in like a dark room. It's like, is anyone there? And I'm like, well, you're asking me to take this at 11 o'clock. Like, I'm sleeping. Or right when I get off of work. So it's like, I don't know. They're just not great. But they're fun.
No.
Yeah.
I'm okay.
Well, Maine was fun. So Joe and I never have good luck with travel. Knock on wood. I'm going to knock on wood. So I was like, you know what? If we can't go to Arkansas, we're going somewhere. So I looked at places in Portland, Maine.
That's the exact opposite direction that you have to go in.
I know. But I was like, I've never been to Maine before. So I was like, let's go to Maine. But now we're going to Arkansas, so it's okay.
Okay, so this was like leading up.
Yes, I swear to frickin' God. If a trip gets canceled. So.
Oh, boo-hoo, Arkansas.
We're going ziplining on Friday. So that'll be fun.
Mm-hmm.
You don't like ziplining? No. I'm excited for it.
The only time I went ziplining was when we went to did you have to go to Hemlock?
I don't know what that is.
You didn't do that in 5th grade?
No.
Really?
I don't know what that is.
It's like a team building, whatever the fuck.
Never.
Anyway, so we go the whole 5th grade.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like a ropes course. You climb the ropes course. You get up to the zip line. Last thing you do.
Cool.
Woo-hoo. I get up there. I don't want to go. I don't do it. I was terrified. The only reason I went was because there was a thunderstorm coming, and I was more terrified of that than I was going down the zip line.
Going down an electric cord zip line.
Yep. So I zoomed right out of there, and I was like, give me the fuck out of outside and inside.
I'm excited for the
So
zip
one
lining.
fear took over the other.
Yeah, there you go. So
So-
now you know what you're more scared of.
Yeah. It was funny when you were telling about the jumpy thingy. It reminded me of when I went to my sleepaway camp.
The jumpy thingy.
Yeah, where you had to jump from one platform or whatever. The haunted place you went. You said you had to jump over a thing. There was like a log. You got to jump from one platform to another.
Oh, yeah, you have to cross the spinning log.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, another ropes course. Youngest in the group.
You did a lot of ropes courses for the fact that you hate heights.
None of them were my idea.
Well, yeah, but still.
So, I was like, I'm the youngest. I got to prove to these guys I can do fucking anything. Because I was terrified.
Yeah.
That was the worst camp ever.
Was like an adventures camp.
Yes.
That sounds fun.
No.
Not for someone who doesn't like adventures, but
I was down to have an adventure, and all of these adventures sucked. So I got in the ropes course, and I was like, I'm going to go first. I was the first one on, last one off. Because there got to be a point where there was a platform, and all I had to do was jump from one platform to the next. I was attached to a thing.
Yeah.
Nope.
It's scary. I don't like heights either.
I think I might have done it.
You probably did.
I probably
Give yourself credit.
I probably did.
Say you did it.
But yeah, I got a nosebleed. Got whacked with a paddle.
Yeah.
Not a good time.
So we're not an outdoorsy person.
Not after that, no.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Like, that was the other thing about these lighthouses is it kept talking about no, like, electricity. And I said, I'm out.
Mm-mm.
But then I was like, how? It's a lighthouse.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And they're like, well, it's, it's usually remote, so they have to run off of a generator. So usually if you're going to be in a lighthouse, like, you want to be one of those people that likes to rough it. And I was like, it is 2022, and you're telling me you can't get electricity out there?
Yeah.
Like, the fuck?
Yeah.
Solar panels? Have you ever heard of them?
Joe will tell you about solar panels for hours. He loves his solar panels. We'll be driving. He's like, those are some nice solar panels. It's a whole thing.
You know, if everybody got on board with solar panels, we'd have a lot more clean air.
Oh, trust me, how many times I've heard him say this. Yes. All right. Well, thank you for listening to Maine and our puns.
We'll have more next.
Follow us on all the socials. Send us emails of scary things that have happened to you. Please. So stay scary.
Stay safe.